Nobody wants to be healthy. And as obvious as that might sound, you can actually use that to your advantage. So I was just looking at some stats, and I'm not here to go over too much statistical stuff, but 40% of Americans are obese. And I think it was 25% in 2008. So it's gone up considerably in a short amount of time. Why are so many people obese? And why are so many people struggling with food? It seems like if you don't have an eating disorder, most people have some kind of weird disorder eating, some strange relationship with food. I knew growing up I did. It was a big struggle. And around the holidays, we only see that, amplified, magnified, because there's so much in the traditions of these holidays of Thanksgiving, of stuffing ourselves silly, being around a family, all the anxious eating and all the stress and all the things that come up to force us to shove our emotions in our mouths and blah 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 blah. So I thought I would offer a different perspective than most people would have. And I've been in the food world for a long time. I've loved cooking for a long time, and now I do a lot of, homesteading, and we ferment everything, and we can our food, and we grow our food, and da da da. And we're always working towards, I don't want to say self-sufficiency, but working towards more and more. How can we, eat things that are local, eat things that we're growing, and we raise rabbits and chickens, and we're going to raise bees and goats and what have you. So I've been thinking about this a lot recently because so many people come to me with lots of issues. They come to me with gut issues and addictive eating patterns. And I only take on, when I work with people and do one-on-one work, I only do with very few people at a time. I'm not a coach. I'm not a therapist. I don't even know what you would call me, but I find people just like, they like my vibe, they know what I do, and they just want to spend more time with me and kind of uncover these ways and look at these patterns. So this video is going to be talking about just different concepts and things that might open your mind up to new possibilities. So no one wants to be healthy. I think people like the idea of being healthy. I should say nobody wants to eat healthy. People want to be healthy, but they don't want to eat healthy. So what does that actually mean in this world where we're, just continually bombarded with ads about fast food and food trends and all these different things? Well, because people don't like to eat healthy, when they go on a diet or when they have some sort of restrictions, it feels like there's this willpower that you have to have. It's like, I need to have this willpower and I need to fight against this thing, and I need to just eat healthy and just convince myself, write in my journal that if I just eat healthy and I run every day and I take care of myself, I'm going to feel good. And what's better than feeling good? And yes, there's something, to me, like, there's nothing more valuable than feeling good and having energy and feeling healthful. I've spent most of my life working on these things, but the way I did it was not through willpower, not through dieting, not through having some sort of regimented workout plan. And I'm not to say that everyone's the same. Maybe that works for you and that's great. If it does, cool, turn the video off. But if it doesn't, and you're still struggling and you want to kind of look at why, and is there a way to, find some sort of vibrant health, well, I'm going to share that here. So I'll say right now, today I don't have a ton of energy. It's gray outside. We had a Christmas holiday gathering yesterday. We had a holiday gathering the day before. And we're kind of hermity. So when we do more energetic things, I just find days like this, I'm a little bit more tired. I'm a little bit more chill. I've been spending some time just kind of resting, doing a little bit of work, doing some research. So I'm not in that full state of vibrant health. And the reason I bring this up is because health isn't a static thing. There's no such thing as being in perfect health. Health is this fluctuation. So you might have markers, and you might have charts that might say this and that, and your doctor, the blood levels, and minerals. But health is always fluctuating. So first off, just throw away the idea that there's this place that you can be in all the time. Because same with our moods and our emotions. They're not always going to be the same. And rather than try to resist them or change them, like, oh, what biohacking thing do I need to do to get into this different state so that I can be in this wonderful state of magical health and da-da-da. Rather than try to be attached to that, recognize that it is this sort of flowing wave-like thing. And in doing that, some days you're just not going to feel as energetic. And to me, the only issue with that is when you tell yourself there's a problem. Like, oh, I'm not as, silly and lighthearted today, or I don't feel as energetic or vibrant, like something's wrong, I need to fix it. And then what you do is you tend to push away what is there, and you just delay and prolong the process. So when I'm feeling less energetic, I'm not forcing myself to do things that I wouldn't want to do. And the reason that works for me is because I've set my life up in a way where I can do that. I can take a day off if I need to, or step back and not do quite as much. And most days I have so much energy, and I'm working and cooking and taking care of animals and tending to the land, and hanging out with my partner and friends and music, and I have a lot of energy to do all these things. But some days I just don't, and I honor that. So, to really get to the nitty gritty of this whole food eating thing, um, most people think that you are what you eat, and I know we hear that all the time, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. But I think what's much more important, and I'm no expert, but this has just become obvious to me, is you are not just what, but also how you eat. So the way in which we eat a meal, we can eat the same two meals. And if in one scenario we're stressed out, we're at work, we're mindlessly eating in front of a computer, or we're sad and we're feeling guilty and shame and loss and grief, and we're watching a TV show and just spooning ice cream mindlessly in our mouths, that's very different than eating that same meal and being very present and tasting the food. And I like to eat with my hands because it connects me deeper with it, and being in that state of honoring what we have. And I'm not trying to say there's some perfect place. I still have times where I eat more mindlessly, or I'm doing things around the house and I pick up a piece of bread that's on the table and I'm walking around and I'm eating it. But I train myself over time to say, hey, wait a second, slow down. Eating is an intimate act. Eating is a sacred act. Can you take time to just sit and pause and enjoy that food? And just in the mere act of chewing, in the mere act of slowing down, of taking in the sensations of the chewy bread and the salty, fatty butter on your tongue, being in that state of honor and appreciation. Now we're not just consuming the physical food, but we're actually taking in these energetics of the food. We're taking in this state of being calm and present. When we're calm and present, when we're chewing our food and it's breaking down in our mouth, our body has more space to process the food, and our body is running more smooth. So people don't want to eat healthy, but they want to be healthy. And I think the number one thing that you can start to do is, if you're in this space, is rather than even think about, oh, I need to eat this instead of this and I shouldn't eat that, start to just look at the way in which you're eating. Start to look at the state in which you're eating, and consider what that actually means and how that's affecting you. And just say, maybe I'm just not going to watch TV. I don't say a rule, but I've just learned that I don't like to do other things while I'm eating. I'll be at a dinner party, and I've had to actually train myself in this state a lot, where if I am at a dinner party and people are talking, I have to find this space where I can listen and also be really present with my food. Because if somebody's talking and someone's eating, a situation where you're in, they're just talking, and you almost start to eat their emotions, or whatever. If they're having intensive energy, it can be easy to start to be like consuming that energy in a way that can affect you. So I've trained myself when I'm around people to eat in a much more mindful state and recognize, okay, cool, someone's talking. Just breathe, chew, be present. Aj and I eat a lot of our meals in complete silence. We prefer that. Sometimes, we talk because we love to talk to each other, but most of the time we try to be as silent as possible. I like to kind of compare it to sex. Sex is obviously a very intimate act, and when you're making love to someone, are you doing other things? Are you also watching TV? Maybe there's some music on in the background or something to set the mood, but are you also watching TV? You're also on the phone, Skyping your parents? No, that wouldn't make any sense, because it's such an intimate act. Now, to me, eating is, I don't want to try to compare them, but it feels like equally an intimate act, where you're bringing things into your body that are going to become part of you, that are going to nourish you. So how can we just honor that act? And there's lots of ways you can do that. I'm not saying there's one perfect way. We like to pause and slow down and say a little prayer and just kind of like check in with ourselves. Am I feeling anxious? Am I worried? Am I nervous? Whatever the thing is, can I just like pause before I eat, sit with that feeling, kind of let it wash over me, and start to eat. And again, it's not about me trying to be perfect or beat myself up if I'm not, but I'm just always bringing in these small moments of awareness. So if you're someone, again, who loves to eat food and appreciates it and the joy of eating, rather than try to think about, oh, I have to eat this because it's healthy and not this because it's that, and then you end up repressing the things that you want to eat, and you restrict yourself, and then when you finally do cave, the classic story, people go crazy when they're on these restrictive diets, because now all of a sudden they just want more and more and more and more of the thing that they were away from. Similar to cleansing. So what I notice, a lot of people like to cleanse, and I got nothing against cleansing and fasting. I've done them myself, but I think when the body is working well, when it's in harmonium, when it's in harmony with itself, there are these beautiful things that just happen because the body knows what it wants to do and it can process food. Haj was talking about, there's this Ayurveda doctor that she really loves, and he was saying, like, ideally if your like digestion is good and your body's in a good space, like you can kind of eat anything. You could eat fast food and it would digest it okay. And I have no desire to eat fast food. I grew up eating a lot of it, but I do notice that when I eat things, like if I go to a gathering, I'm not like, oh, is this organic? Does this not have refined sugar? Just because we don't, because we eat organic and we don't eat refined sugar in these things, I'm not like being the stickler, because I know I take care of my body. And at 39, I feel the best that I've ever felt. When I take care of my body, it knows how to process these things. And if I eat a little too much of something that I shouldn't have eaten, my body just is like, all right, let's get it out. Let's go through, get it out, and it processes and digests in the way that it needs to. I recently wrote a book that I published about fermentation and preservation. It's called Fermenting with Your Best Friend. Of course, you can click the link below to learn more about it. Digital, physical books, but one thing I'm noticing is more and more people are getting into fermented foods because they're seeing how good it is to have what would be called, prebiotics and probiotics, and having things that support your gut health. You probably hear people talking a lot about gut health and the importance of gut health and taking care of your gut health, and you can look at it from a scientific perspective, but for me, I'm always looking just at these basic energetic perspectives. I haven't done the test, I haven't done the research. As we know, most of the research is skewed and data is skewed, and it's trying to get people to buy this thing or buy into this idea, and everyone's biasy and blah 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 blah. So for me, I'm always looking at my own experience. I'm looking at other people that I care about, that I trust, and I'm just sort of tracking all these things. And what I've noticed about fermented food is, because it's living, you have things like sauerkraut that are living, that you're eating and you're taking in all this magical goodness. But also then you're taking something like sourdough that maybe isn't living because you bake it, but before you bake it, you ferment it, and it's helping, as I've been told, to break down the nutrients, unlock minerals, and making that wheat more available to your body. So a lot more people are getting into fermentation because they're seeing the health benefits, and they're seeing how, if I'm actually eating these foods that are helping to heal my gut and put good things in, rather than just try to kill everything, which is like the common American, let's sterilize everything and then we'll be safe if we just kill all the germs. But I talk about this more in the book. It's like most things, germs, molds, bacteria, we hear the word bacteria, we hear the word mold, and we freak out. There are some bad ones, and yet most of them are not. And funny enough, fermentation actually makes food safer typically than the latter. Most foodborne illnesses and things that people have issues with food are not in relation to fermented food. I think 70 million people get foodborne illness a year, and there's never really been a reported case of almost any fermented food, because it creates a good, hospitable, acidic environment for the bad bacteria to stay away. So I'm seeing more people get into fermentation because they're like, oh, something's there. But when I look at the more subtle energetics of it, to me, it's being in this relationship with your food. It's taking something maybe that you grew or you got from the farmer's market or whatever, and adding salt and setting these conditions to transform the food. But you're there with the process. You're watching it, you're smelling it. It's like taking care of a pet. The more you take care of it, the more you're aware of it, the more it serves and supports you in the ways that you need. So just being in that relationship is a very special thing. So the moral of this video is, there are no answers in food. Everyone has their own unique journey. I'm not pretending to know what I'm talking about. And yet the proof is in the pudding, or as I like to say, the proof is in the pooping. I have great poops. And honestly, that's like one of the main things. It's almost like no matter what I eat, and there's a very, very rare occasion where maybe, I have something that isn't great, but most of my poops are perfect poops, barely any wiping. And that's kind of a way that I look. Like if my digestion's good, if it's able to digest these things, I feel good. And yeah, so the moral of the video is that if you are someone that's struggling with food, start to look at your relationship with food. Start to become more mindful. Start to slow down when you're eating. And regardless of what you're eating, just that connection and that deepening of a relationship can be completely profound and change so many things for you. So I hope that was helpful. Chat soon. And here's the greenhouse. It's freezing outside. It's been like 15 degrees, but still going strong in here.